Well, we are trying. Is the microphone working?
Not me, no.
It should be. All right, yes, thank you. We will call this work session to order. So what we're going to do is, this is a work session. We'll be going through items on the consent agenda and asking any questions about that. When that is completed, we will call the regular meeting to order. As a housekeeping matter, there are two sign-up sheets for public comment. There is a round of general public comment at the beginning of the meeting, which involves you can come and speak about anything under the sun. We are also, as the agenda states, having a hearing on the baseball lease. If you want to talk about the baseball lease, you should sign up for that, the public comment on that hearing. I think there might be some people who signed up for general public comment instead of for the hearing. So the sign-up sheets are up there, and we'll sort of pay attention. But if you want to talk about the baseball lease, that will be a separate item of public comment during the hearing when that agenda item is called, as opposed to the general public comment, which can be whatever is on your mind. So with that being said, having called the work session to order, I will turn it over to City Manager Miles Braswell to introduce the items on the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Heffron and council members. You have 14 items on consent tonight. The first four have to do with approval of meeting minutes. The first one is the approval of the City Council workshop meeting minutes for May the 23rd, 2024. The second item is the approval of regular meeting minutes from June 3rd, 2024. The third item is approval of special meeting minutes from June 3rd, 2024. The fourth item is the approval of closed session minutes from June 3rd, 2024. And they're in this color of ink, I believe. So once you review them, City Clerk will collect those. And item number 5 is a declaration of K9 as surplus property. And as you can see on your consent memo, that we have a K9 that needs to be surplus, given that the handler is no longer employed by the City of Belmont. So this is a declaration of a K9 for surplus property. Number 6 is approval of a budget amendment number 15, and that is for $675,000 transfer from the American Rescue Plan Special Revenue Fund for the North Belmont Booster Pump Station, and that is for the funds that for fiscal year 2024. That's in $675,000. Item number B7 is the transportation bond presentation of the bond order and the resolution. This is required since we're moving through the bond process, that we are introducing the actual bond order authorizing the issuance of $25 million for the general obligation transportation bonds for the City of Belmont. And it also directs our city clerk and the finance officer to file a sworn statement of debt with the local government commission and post an online statement of disclosure. That's item number B7. Item B8 is the selection of on-call engineering firms. This is due to a request for qualifications that our public works department sent out. We have 3 current engineers under contract under a master services agreement: HDR, Withers Ravenel, and Garver. We're going to maintain service contracts with those 3 firms. We wanted to open it up to other firms, and the RFQ was due on June the 10th. We had 3 firms to respond, which was LJB Engineering, McAdams, and Willis Engineers, and it's under our recommendation that we move into a master services agreement with these 3 firms as well. Item B9 is the acceptance of certain streets in the Plain South Shore Phase 2A MAC 3 neighborhood and the donation of property for a future public park. These street segments are Lanyard Lane from 227 Lanyard Lane to 238 Lanyard Lane. Bee Ridge Road from Lanyard Lane to 711 Bee Ridge Road. Waterton Trail from Bee Ridge Road to 603 Waterton Trail. And then also approximately 10 acres that is required due to this development that the city will be accepting for a future park. Item number B10 is the acceptance of a grant and loan from the Division of Water Infrastructure for the lead service line replacement program. You can see that we've received, the state has approved our application. The city is eligible to receive a total funding amount of $499,740 from their grant program. The principal forgiveness of the grant is $299,844. The loan proceeds is $196,896. The local funds is $9,995, which puts the total expenditures at $509,735. Item B11 is the approval of an ordinance to close a portion of Glenway Street on multiple dates for the Belmont Farmers Market. This is an alternate location during the times of the farmers market, just in case the weather is bad that day that renders Stowe Park unusable for the farmers market. They would like to use Glenway Street during those rain events or muddy days where vendors have a hard time maneuvering at Stowe Park. So this is an approval of an ordinance to close that portion of Glenway Street on the dates listed. Item number B12 is the approval of an ordinance authorizing the closing of, we recommended approval of this ordinance. I'd like to point out that since that time, that statement has been removed online and that we are recommending denial of a special permit application. We've gone through a new special events permit application process, and we were a little premature on placing this on the agenda. And typically, you have an application that comes in, and then at some point, there's our, we call it the BELT team, the Belmont Events Logistics team, meets to discuss it, and it contains the police department, fire department, public works, and administration, talk about the event itself, and whether, as a group, to determine whether the project should move forward. And really, this is the first time that an external entity is requesting to close a main artery through town. And so, staff, we are recommending denial of this special permit application. The next item, B13, is approval of an ordinance authorizing the sale, possession, and consumption of alcoholic beverages for the 2024 Charlotte Symphony Concert, and that is in Stowe Park on September 20th from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. And item C14 is the initial resolution approval for equipment financing in the amount of $2,600,000 for 3 pieces of equipment. One being the 2025 Spartan Smil custom 100-foot mid-mount platform ladder fire truck at $1.8 million. This truck was ordered in fiscal year 20. We'd also like to finance our leaf vacuum truck that was factored in this capital improvement plan for fiscal year 24-25. It's an extreme vac, 25-yard vacuum truck, and the amount is $314,890.24. We'd also like to finance the new switch and go truck. It's a 2023 Ford F650 regular cab, plus the switch and go attachment, and those two items added together is $105,691. We have to go through the process of being on the local government commission's agenda, and so this is the process that we must use for the banks to submit their proposals for this financing. The due date for that was June the 27th, so therefore it was not included in your council packets. But the bids did come in, and after discussion with our financial advisors and staff, we determined that the Bank of America is the lowest bid as a whole. It wasn't the lowest rate, but as a whole, it was the lowest. And so we're recommending that we move forward with Bank of America to finance the equipment. And you'll see this this spreadsheet coming back to you all during the August 5th council meeting. There's another resolution we must pass before we get to the LGC. So you'll actually see this installment financing contract at that time. Mayor Pro Tem, that is the end of the consent. I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Miles. Are there any questions about any items on the consent agenda?
Just so I'm clear, on item B12, we don't need to make any additional motion to change the language or anything. We can just motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
Thank you. That's a question I had as well. Any other questions? I have just a few. Item B7, which was the, it's B10, the DWI lead service line replacement program. The resolution or the ordinance that we were being asked to pass had some blanks, some placeholders. I just want to make sure that those were filled in appropriately for what we're going to vote on.
I think they were today, and I'm asking the city clerk.
Yes, they were uploaded, and you want to see
Okay, thank you. And then with respect to the budget amendment number 15 for the booster pump, North Belmont booster pump station, thank you. Since we've just discussed that in previous meetings, I was hoping that you could just explain sort of the status of that and why the status is what it is at the moment.
Correct. So at one of the past meetings, you all had asked staff about the booster pump and when it was going to become operational. And I said that we needed to have the SCADA system that controls the actual device to be operational before we could bring it online. Since that council meeting, I met with staff, public works staff, and we kind of discussed a little bit further in detail about the SCADA system. Given that we need to do a full SCADA upfit to our water plant, we want to make sure that both of these systems can talk to each other before just going out and put the SCADA in at the North Belmont pump station. The contractor is pretty much complete. They just need to turn the devices on, make sure the pumps are operational, but we can't control those. And so if we turn a pump station on with no control, we were worried that we may break pumps, we may overpressurize lines, which would not be good for the North Belmont community. So I made the recommendation that we do not move forward with starting the pump station at all until we have a full SCADA system that we can control it. And so that's the process that we plan to use at this time. So we talked about the next steps for the SCADA system as a whole. We think that it's probably best that we have a design engineer to be on board to help us design the full SCADA system. So it's going to take a little bit of time before we actually can turn the pump station on at North Belmont, but I think it's in the best interest of the city that we wait at this time.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. There being nothing else, I guess we would move into our regular meeting. So that being the case, I will call this regular meeting of the Belmont City Council of July 1st, 2024 to order. A couple introductory items. I'm Mayor Pro Tem Jim Heffron. Our Mayor Richard Turner is unable to attend. He is recovering from gallbladder removal and pancreatitis. He continues to improve and is appreciative of everyone's support and asks for your continued prayers. Councilman Jason Rumfeld is also unable to attend today due to international travel issues that have stranded him. But again, both of them wish that they could be in attendance, but there are good reasons why neither of them can be. I would also like to begin, before we get into the more substantive matters at hand. We lost this past weekend our senior planner, Alex Robinson, who'd been with the city for over 25 years. He passed away Sunday morning, and so we'd like to begin this meeting with a moment of silence in his honor. Please stand and have a moment of silence for Alex Robinson. Thank you. And if you please remain standing, we will have our invocation given tonight by Reverend Sam Warner, the senior pastor for First Presbyterian Church.
Let us pray. Spirit of the living God, fall afresh upon this community of Belmont, North Carolina. We are all privileged to call our home. And on this first day of July, in the week when we pause to celebrate our freedom as a nation and recognize how true freedom comes through you and our ultimate loyalty belongs to you as the giver to us all of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Inspire wisdom and discernment upon those before us tonight, called by the voice of friends and neighbors to serve in positions of leadership and public service. And send forth your healing grace and comfort to those unable to be here because of physical health and ongoing treatment. We specifically pause tonight and give you thanks for those who labor each and every day as employees and civil servants of this city, and especially on this day after the passing, early yesterday morning, of our senior planner, William Alexander Alex Robinson, at the Robin Johnson Hospice House in Dallas. O Lord, you support us all the day long of our earthly life, until the shadows lengthen and the evening comes, and the busy world is hushed, and the fever of life is over, and our work is done. So grant to Alex a safe lodging, and a holy rest, and peace at the last. And help his family, as well as this council, and our community, to pass forward to ourselves and to those we all serve the legacy Alex has so faithfully given. And this city of Belmont, North Carolina, has been privileged to receive. In the name of Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing as Councilwoman Catherine Lewis leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have a couple of recognitions and acknowledgments this evening. First, I will recognize my colleague, Councilman Alex Zooks, for recognition of Jack Page and his contributions to the city of Belmont.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Can I please have the Page family come up here, if you don't mind? Thank you. Right now I'm going to read, can everyone hear me? All right, is this up? Okay. Right now I'm going to read the proclamation honoring the life of Mr. Jack Page. And before I begin this, for those who don't know Mr. Jack Page, he gave so much to this community, particularly as it surrounds around our historical society, and also just his love and nourishment to so many people in this community. And I couldn't think of a better person to have received these types of recognitions tonight. So again, proclamation honoring the life of Mr. Jack Page. Whereas Jack Page was born on September 10th, 1932, and raised in Belmont, North Carolina, where he attended Belmont High School, continuing his education at Appalachian State University, and later obtaining his master's degree in counseling from the University of Florida. And whereas Jack Page dedicated 34 years of his life to the education system of Gaston County, starting as a teacher at Greer Elementary School and serving as a guidance counselor at Frank L. Ashley High School, Ashbrook High School, and South Point High School, leaving an indelible mark on countless students and colleagues alike. And whereas throughout his life, Jack Page exemplified a commitment to service, volunteering with organizations such as the Gaston Literacy Council, Stowe YMCA, the Belmont Community Organization, and serving as president of the Gaston County Beekeepers Association, and demonstrating his passion for community and education. And whereas Jack Page was an avid historian and archaeologist, founding member of the Belmont Historical Society, and preserving local history through his writings and oral histories, including his memoir, The Heart of the Watermelon, and co-authoring Images of America, Belmont, with his beloved wife, Geraldine Russell Page. And whereas Jack Page proudly served his country during the Korean conflict as the member of the U.S. Army, embodying the patriotism and dedication to his fellow citizens. And whereas Jack Page's commitment to spiritual growth and compassion was evident through his dedicated service as a Sunday school teacher for 50 years, nurturing the spiritual lives of many people within our community. And whereas Jack Page's compassionate heart extended beyond teaching to visiting people in local retirement and nursing homes weekly, bringing comfort and companionship to those in their later years. And whereas Jack Page's life was one of unwavering dedication to his family, surviving spouse Geraldine Russell Page, children Forrest, Martha, and Daniel, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and sister Alice Thompson, whom he cherished deeply through his 91 years of life. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the City Council of Belmont, North Carolina, that we honor the life and memory of Jack Page. His enduring contributions to the education, community service, local history, and family have left an indelible impact on our city and the lives of those who have the privilege of knowing him. We extend our deepest condolences to his families and friends and celebrate the life of Mr. Jack Page. Thank you. And on behalf of the mayor, city council, and the city of Belmont, the city would like to present this plaque of the proclamation itself and the key, an honorary key to the city. And then I don't know, Jamie, if you want. Council, if you want. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Alex. And this time we also have a recognition of the Tar Heel Trailblazers group for their partnership on the enhancements to Rocky Branch Park. So I would turn it over to our Recreation Director, Zip Stowe, for this recognition.
Good afternoon, Mayor. Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. I appreciate everybody coming out, and the Belmont Trailblazers, Tar Heel Trailblazers have done a great job throughout the years in providing services for the community, especially for our Rocky Branch Park. On May the 23rd, they opened up an advanced trail, which is phenomenal. I wish you guys would go out there and take a look if you hadn't already seen it. But they have done so much work for this community, working on the trails, cleaning the trails, cutting brush, letting us know when it's a situation out there. Just all kind of things that an ordinary volunteer group would not do. These guys are tremendous. So I want everybody to give these guys a hand. I know David wants to come up and say a word or not right quick. You want to say anything, David?
On spot a little bit. Well, I just want to say thank you to the City Council and the City of Belmont for all your help, and for the Parks and Rec Board as well, and Zipsto for all your coordination. Obviously, we've got a really passionate group of volunteers here in Belmont and throughout the Metro Charlotte area, because Trailblazers maintain a bunch of trails throughout Charlotte. But we're glad to be able to kind of transform Rocky Branch into a park that's really great for the community, more than just kind of a pure mountain biker. And we hope to continue that partnership in the future. Thank you.
Again, on behalf of the city, we really appreciate you, and here's a certificate of appreciation.
All right.
So thank everybody. Thanks for everybody.
All right, well, thank you, Zip, and thank you to the Trailblazers. At this time, I would entertain a motion to set the agenda.
I'll make a motion to set the agenda.
Moved by Alex, seconded by Charlie. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. And I would also entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I would like to make the motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
All right, a motion by Alex, seconded by Catherine. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Very good. So moving along, we come to item C1, which is public comment. And again, this is general public comment. If there are remarks you wish to make related to the baseball lease, that is the next agenda item, which is a public hearing. I feel like some folks on the list might be here to comment on the baseball. If that's the case, when I call your name, just say baseball, and I'll make sure that you're heard in connection with that item. First name on the list is Martha Stowe. And again, do we have a slide with the ground rules for public comment, Miles? Okay, just to set the ground rules, because we have a lot of public comment tonight, and this would apply for both general public comment as well as public comment during our hearing, but you'll have up to 3 minutes to speak. Please give your name and address when you begin. Please be respectful of City Council, staff, and the public. We understand that people feel very passionately about the issues that they want to speak about, but it's important that we remain respectful to everyone. This is a time for speakers to bring matter to the mayor and council's attention. If warranted, the mayor and council may ask staff to follow up with the speaker on his or her concern. And again, what we're doing right now is going to be separate from the public hearing that we're about to have as the next agenda item. So with all that being said, and I know you know all this, Martha, because, but
My name is
you have 3 minutes.
Martha Stowe, and I live at 3132 Channelview Landing. I now have a title. John Russell is introducing me to people as a council member emeritus. So I'm speaking as a council member emeritus.
Can we get that license? Can we get a tag for that?
Yeah, I need a tag. I wanted to make some comments about the magnitude of the loss that my husband and I, our friends, colleagues, and our city are experiencing concerning the loss of Alec Robinson, who died yesterday. He had experienced some medical issues for the past month or so, but nothing life-threatening. So we were all extremely shocked. My husband Sam was fortunate to work with him as a part of the zoning board. Alec Robinson was the liaison, so he learned very well what Alec's work ethics was. He and his wife Patty both were from South Carolina. They lived with their daughters Catherine and Patricia across from South Point High School. Both of them worked tirelessly in our community, much of the time behind the scenes, so that's one of the reasons I wanted to speak. Patty's dad actually built our pool at Pine Brook, which I did not realize until speaking with her on Saturday. Patty also was involved with the YMCA board and starting the daycare preschool at First Presbyterian Church. Once again, to say both of them were involved, I'll say a bit more about him. He actually moved to Belmont in 1986, which was before some of you would have realized he was involved with the group that revitalized Stone Mercantile. He was also a Chamber of Commerce president, which once again was back years ago. The past 25 years, as was previously mentioned, he was in our planning department and became our senior planner. He may have appeared to some people as a curmudgeon because of his attention to accuracy and detail and the fact that he was making sure we complied with all the legal requirements. Any planner or plan that came across his desk, he was very careful to look at it. This did not make him popular with the developers. He worked tirelessly behind the scenes, often unnoticed, to protect us. So that's, to me, is very important. That's one reason I'm speaking, because most of you did not see him make the presentations because he was not the main person. He was the behind-the-scenes person. However, if you missed his dry wit, you missed a lot. Most of us were fortunate to be aware of that wit. He was our historian. He had a huge amount of institutional knowledge. He was our go-to guy for who, what, where, when, and why. He knew. He should have written us a book. The best comment was made by his former colleague, Michelle, who said that the staff called him Wikipedia. Consider how tough our lives will be without our own local Wikipedia.
Thank you, Monica. The next several folks have signed up, I think, for both, and judging by the addresses, I'm assuming they are for baseball, but we'll just, Claude Wilson, I'm assuming is baseball. Thank you. Terry Wilson, baseball. Felicia Reddick,
Baseball.
baseball. Margie Nicholas,
Baseball.
baseball. Bill Reams,
Baseball.
baseball. Carolyn Reams,
Baseball.
baseball. Trevor McAllister,
Baseball.
baseball. Carrie Raver,
Baseball.
baseball. Okay. Autumn Michael,
Baseball.
baseball. Okay. Timothy Roberts,
Baseball.
baseball. Woody Vincent.
No, not baseball.
All right. Come on down. Again, just state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Okay, so Woody Vincent, 710 Brook Street in Belmont. And the reason we're here today, my fiance and myself live there, and the Chris Lang Sports Complex is directly in, you walk out of our front door into town all the way to the end of his building, which does not allow us to access our house. I've spoken to Chris about it several times. He will not return my phone calls, he won't return my emails or my text messages at this point. And we're asking for no parking signs to be put on that side of the street so that we can access our house and without having to worry about all of the cars being parked there because of the hazards that go along with it. There have been 2 separate occasions that I've almost been hit by cars while I was mowing my grass or weed eating. With all the cars parked there, everybody comes this way. They're all parked in the wrong direction, so they're opposite facing. And so, again, we're asking for assistance in that. And there are 2, 3, or 4 o'clock in the morning, they're out sitting in the parking lot, and with the music as loud as possible, which wakes us up. We have to go out, we have to call the police, and Chris has instructed us, and I don't remember the lady's name that we were supposed to contact the police officer, but everything was supposed to go through her, and then nothing gets done. And I would like a good night's sleep. I had a stroke June the 9th of this year, so rest is very important to me and all of my neighbors. Another one is here as well, and we would like something to be done about that. Second issue on Red Spire, which goes right behind our house, Brook Street and Red Spire. It is the Carolina Recycling property. All of their weeds, trees, and everything is grown over Red Spire. It's only halfway open now for us to be able to get through. We would like the city council to address those two issues. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just point of clarification, council can't respond to folks who do give public comment, but we can direct. So Miles, if it's okay with the rest of council, I'd be interested for us to look into the situations that were just brought up during public comment.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Joshua Stewart.
Not baseball.
Yes, I figured probably the same issue that was just discussed.
Yes.
Judging by the address.
I'm Woody's neighbor, so I'm going to kind of piggyback off of what he said. I have some notes here. My issues, comments, concerns today lie with the chaos and noise associated with the Chris Lang Sports Complex. While I can only speak for myself here today, I'm aware that not only I, but most, if not all of my neighbors have had multiple issues. I returned last November from a 2-year work trip to find that Chris Lang was using my address as a mailing address for a sports complex. Along with this, Chris Lang was also allowing his patrons to use my address for DoorDash orders. His response to my concerns were, and I quote, "Eat it." Along with the issues of trespassing by the patrons of said facility, the noise associated with the facility is nothing short of maddening. I am not ignorant to the fact that any gym or business will produce a baseline noise level. However, according to Belmont General Statute, Chapter 9.5, Section 3, Paragraph Act, this act is specifically declared to be unlawful. Chris Lang Sports Complex is directly across the street from 5 houses. Not only does this gym produce excessive noise, patrons of said complex sit inside their vehicles with noise emitting in such a manner that not only I can hear it, I can feel the vibrations associated with said commotion. While random rare acts of this violation may not pose an issue, this has become a common practice of the facility, is an everyday occurrence. Along with this, patrons of the facility on numerous occasions have dumped their trash out of their vehicles into the parking lot. This trash then ends up in our yards. Chris Lang and those patrons have been nothing but disrespectful to the residents located across the street. In my opinion, this lacks self-awareness and basic human decency. Chris Lang refuses to speak with me about these issues. I find this very concerning. I do not believe he is here tonight. Due to this, is unable to defend himself. However, I have a firm belief that Chris Lang only cares about himself and the money his patrons bring in. He refuses to hold anybody accountable for their actions. In my opinion, Chris Lang Sports Complex has exceeded the status of nuisance outlined in Belmont General Statute 130.20. I am unaware of how to proceed with handling said issues. I refuse to fill out the non-emergent line with complaints as our city and county law enforcement have more pressing issues, and they can only do so much, especially if violations are not witnessed. This is why I present to you in hopes that you guys can provide guidance, purpose, and direction concerning this topic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I guess the same,
Yeah.
We're
Yeah, we need
piggybacking,
to-
yeah.
look into these things. And is this the Chris Lang that played it? No comment. There's a Wake Forest alum. All right, that is it for general public comment. So we'll move along to the main event, I guess you could say, which is item C2, public hearing, Belmont Baseball LLC lease agreements. I will entertain a motion to go into public hearing.
I would like to make a motion to go into public hearing.
Motion from Alex,
Second.
seconded by Charlie. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are now in public hearing. Is there any sort of presentation from the city, or are we going to go straight to public comment?
We can go straight to public comment if you'd like to do that, unless Kevin has a presentation.
No, I don't have anything, just a question.
Okay, then we will go straight to public comment. Again, 3 minutes. State your name. There's also little color-coded lights up there so you can see a yellow when your time's about to run out. 3 minutes, state your name and address, and be respectful of all others. So we will begin with Claude Wilson.
And don't hold the color of the shirt. One of my favorites here. Hello, my name is Claude Wilson, and I have lived at 6 Kingston Street for 35 years. Thank you, City Council, for this opportunity to address some of my concerns about the lease of Davis Park to the Belmont Baseball LLC. And some of my concerns are parking issues for large events, extending the hours of use until midnight, and Belmont Baseball subletting the baseball field for other uses. Let me address my first concern. I spent a lot of time at the ball field growing up in Belmont, attending Legion games in the 60s. And parking was an issue that long ago. Cars parking on both sides of the street can create access issues. Having prior experience driving large emergency vehicles, it can become an issue for area residents that may need help during an event. By allowing parking on both sides of the street, this would conceivably make these one-way streets for moving traffic. Another concern is extending the quiet hours to midnight. This will create noise issues for area residents, and as we know, some vehicles are a lot louder than others, and some of the folks that operate them like to let you know it. The sale of alcohol does not bother me if it is consumed in areas that are supervised. My last concern is the subleasing of the park by Belmont Baseball LLC for other uses. Who would oversee this? And thank you for your time and patience.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Next up is Terry Wilson.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Terry Wilson, and I live at 6 Kingston Street. I recently heard about the proposal to lease Davis Park Ball Field to Belmont Baseball LLC. Having been a lifelong resident and living near Davis Park, I am very much aware of the wonderful noises of the children and the teens using the park and the ball field, as well as the sound of tennis balls and pickleballs. It's a very pleasing sound, but it all stops at 10 o'clock. I'm not completely opposed to leasing the ball field, but I do have concerns and many questions. First and foremost, the quiet time, being from midnight to 6 a.m. Noise does travel, and the ball field is in the middle of a neighborhood of working and retired individuals. Parking is my second concern. Even when there are just youth sports being played, people use both sides of the street to park, ignoring the signs that may say, "No parking here to corner." I feel these issues may be even larger with the Belmont Baseball LLC events, including blocked driveways. The Davis Park area is already a popular cut-through certain times of the day. Alcohol being served is not a big concern as long as it is controlled properly. I enjoy city events where alcohol is served, but I do know that it's controlled. A few other concerns. Will families using the playground area continue to have use of the bathrooms at the concession stands? Will any type of restrictions be placed on the type of groups that can be sublet from Belmont Baseball LLC? If not, I feel this may leave it wide open for a lot of unknowns, especially if alcohol can be served. How will the need for security and emergency services be determined? And who will be responsible for seeing that that is done and carried through with? My last two comments, have any other areas of the city been considered? And how was this public notice advertised? Thank you all for giving me time to voice my concerns and all that y'all are doing for our beautiful city.
Next is Felicia Reddick.
Hello, my name is Felicia Reddick. I live at 22 Oak Street. I can echo a lot of the same concerns, but I will start with my primary concerns are safety, noise, and traffic. I have a daughter that is very young at this age, but we go to that park, Davis Park, weekly. We walk there 3 to 4 times a week. It is sweet, it is shaded, it is precious, it is safe, it is relatively quiet, I do not feel like that'll be the case if we move forward with this lease. Additionally, traffic, as everyone else has said, parking, the Belmont police can certainly attest to me reaching out pretty often about people speeding down the street, just not following the rules, not stopping at stop signs, not taking into consideration for the number of people that walk in the area, pets, children, retirees, joggers, you name it. There aren't any sidewalks, and so, as everyone else has mentioned, parking. I live pretty close to the church. We all reached out to the church to see if they have been approached for additional parking. That's another concern. We really hope not. And then certainly the time frames. 6 a.m. or midnight to 6 a.m. for quiet time is scary. I'm sure many of us have children that go to bed early, and we all know how precious that time is. Additionally, I go to bed early. I don't want to be woken up.
Some of us go to bed earlier.
Right, exactly. So I love baseball. I love sports. I love a good, drink, but not in my backyard. We don't want the lights. We don't want the noise. We don't want the safety concerns, the traffic. I really just hope that these things are being thought of, big picture, and that the citizens of the area are being prioritized over monetary gain or just someone that would like to play, sports there. Additionally, we already don't have enough police and enough security. A lot of times when I have had to call, they haven't been able to get to us soon enough, and so security, how is this being handled? Everyone wants to live peacefully in their home, and we love Belmont, we love the area. I think that there's been mention that this would increase property values. I understand that there are studies out there, but I'm curious exactly where those studies were done. Personally, I would not buy a house next to a baseball stadium with more restrictions, especially with the time, but midnight is very late, and potential for other subleases that aren't well defined in the lease and well restricted also creates a lot of cause for concern. So I hope that all of this will be taken into consideration. Belmont's a beautiful city, and I hope that we can keep it that way.
Thank you.
Margie Nicholas.
Good evening. My name is Margaret Nicholas. I live at 24 Oak Street. My concern is pretty much the same as you all have heard. The stop signs mean nothing. In general, they don't mean anything. People tend to just roll right through them. Lots of, as Felicia said, so many people love to walk in the neighborhood because it's a great neighborhood. Same thing, we have 3 dogs. They're secured, but we walk them every day. And I get concerned. We all know what it's like when there have been large functions, sports, things going on at the ballpark, and it's a little hairy. The parking is, bumper to bumper. Walking through there, I feel like I'm taking my life in my hands. No, I didn't hear anything about this. Nothing at all. And it was late last week, and it's puzzling that the people that live directly around that area knew nothing about it. I was out canvassing with flyers that we all decided we should let people know what's going on. Nobody knew about it. I know there was, a meeting April 29th here, but it was all closed. There were no minutes. And late today, there was information put up on Charlie's website, and we were all just like, what the heck? This is unbelievable. I don't know how what we're supposed to think of this, if there aren't any tests or talking to any of the neighbors that are directly impacted by this. So, I mean, no notice, the Baptist church knew nothing about it, you know, impact on neighbors, traffic. It's puzzling that we didn't know at all about this, so. I appreciate your time and have a good evening.
Thank you. Bill Reams.
Hey, good evening. My name's Bill Reams. I live at 17 Oak Street. I know all y'all got my email, so I'll try and keep this within 3 minutes. But in my email, it pretty much expressed everything you've already heard. But one of the things that I want to talk about is our parks as an asset. In our comprehensive land use plan, parks are the dominant feature that people look for when coming to communities. Giving this away as to private enterprise to rent out and use really goes against all of that. I think also in that land use plan, it talked about the expected growth in Belmont is to be 46% over the next 5 years. The need for open spaces and parks are even more vital than ever before. And so I want to encourage you all to vote against this agreement. It's not a good fit for a neighborhood. It is a sports venture. It is an entertainment venture. It is a commercial venture, and that is not fit with a residential neighborhood. So I encourage you all to vote against that. Thank you.
Thank you. Carolyn Reams.
Hello, my name is Carolyn Reams, and I too live at 17 Oak Street. And most of what everyone else has already said, we all have the same feelings about this. I cannot see any benefit to this baseball league, Belmont Baseball League, which is actually Old North State League, one in the same address, one in the same owners, that is coming in here. They are the only ones that benefit by that park. I can't even believe it's happening, to be honest with you. And the fact that no one in Davis Park was notified about this, we had to find out on our own and do the best we could to notify our neighbors, is very upsetting. I mean, we really scrambled to get those flyers out and let everybody know, and you only posted something, several hours ago. We should have known about this long ago when you all were thinking about it. And since the minutes were kept secret on April the 29th, there was nothing. And then all of a sudden, thank goodness one of our neighbors saw that the lease was out, and we all read it and were astonished. How can you possibly think that something the size of the Gastonia baseball team could fit in Davis Park? Well, plus we don't want it. We've already voiced the parking situation is horrendous there. I mean, even when the families come and the little leagues, which we love, we believe that this should be left for the citizens of Belmont and not outsiders. There's another park, Rodden Field. Send them over there. There's nothing over there. Maybe they could fix that place up. But right now, Davis Park, the money the city's invested in the park itself for the children's equipment is wonderful. Families are enjoying it there. Families are teaching their children how to play ball in those fields. We've got one Hispanic league that comes on Sundays, and they pay and rent on Sundays, because on Belmont Parks and Recreation's website, it states, Davis Field is a prime location for our baseball program. The field is not available for rentals at any time during our program season except on Sundays. So how are you going to get around that if that's already stated there? And shouldn't there be more effort to involve the people that live in Davis Park? I mean, really. So I just want to put that out there because I'm very disappointed in the way that this has all gone down, and I feel like we are being treated like the unloved stepchildren of Belmont right now in Davis Park. So we would appreciate everything that you all, city, this is the first time I've ever had to come to a city council meeting in the 24 years that I've lived here. And my husband's lived here even longer, and we love Belmont. And literally, Davis Park is the charming place that people see. Thank you for your time.
Trevor McAllister.
Hi, I'm Trevor McAllister. My address is 202 Farrell. I'm directly across from the park. I'm not opposed to it, but I do want to think completely about parking because it is an issue as of right now. I can barely get in and out of my driveway at times. Also, I pretty much second everything everybody said. So it's already been said. I believe that a lot of the same things that they're having issues with at the other park, and I have them here as well. Yeah, thank you for your.
Thank you. Carrie Raver.
I'm Gary Raver. I live at 2341 Shannon Drive. And while I really technically don't have a dog in this fight because I'm not living in that direct neighborhood, I have two close friends that do. So I'm spending a lot of my free time over there at times. And when you look out upon that park and that neighborhood, I've told them so many times, it's the most beautiful area that it's picturesque. You know, when I look at that, it's like a postcard. And, I'm thinking, why do you want to bring in like this entity, a vendor, and I'm not sure how much who's profiting from this, but to bring them in, and I'm sure there's going to be quite a few people coming into these games, which I don't personally see how they're going to do this. Some of these remarks I'm making, you've probably heard them already, but I'm going to say them anyways. But I think they'll just be overblown. The parking situation, are they going to have provided parking? All the concessions and the beer sales, who's actually going to profit from this besides this entity? And I know that you're leasing the property and all for a certain time, but then how can you sit there and let this one particular entity rent it or farm it out for other events? I'm not sure how that works. I don't know all the legalities of it, but I do know that, you're going to take something where I see a lot of pedestrian traffic, a lot of people walking their kids, their dogs or pets. It's just a great area, and to me, I don't see how it's feasible to put something right smack in the middle of there when I know that if you go like maybe a block off of where the antique mall is over here, kind of like the railroad tracks, there are some soccer fields and whatnot back there that really most of it just borders like the railroad tracks and whatnot or woods, so there's no residential, areas. In fact, I don't even know how something like this, if this place is zoned as residential, how you could be able to put something in here that is commercial, basically, even if it's for a temporary part of the year. It's not all year round. And, my saying is, I'm looking down here at your vision statement. It says, Belmont will be a vibrant, multi-generational community that incorporates small town charm and heritage with an entrepreneurial spirit. And I think right here in this situation, that entrepreneurial spirit is going to take away from this small town charm and heritage. And that's the main reason me and my wife moved out here from Charlotte. She was there her whole life. I've been there 35 years. We looked everywhere around this area. This was the place we wanted to be. And we've been out here 9 years, and I understand progress and all, but especially that picturesque area right there, you're going to destroy that if you put this thing in. I'll guarantee you. Thanks.
Autumn Michael.
I'm Autumn Michael. I live at 111 Lee Street. I have quite a few of my neighbors back here. So there's everyone's hitting on the same points, and they're all extremely wonderful and valid points. This, for me, is a part of the ball field, but also just we're a small community. We are a small neighborhood. We don't really complain ever much about anything. neighbor when he said that sometimes he can't, pull out of his driveway. That was like an obnoxious understatement, because I have pulled in, he's the first house onto Farrell off of Harris, and that's the way into our neighborhood, one of the main ways into our neighborhood, and just pulling in there, I cannot tell you, even at like 5 miles an hour, how many children I have almost hit, just like from the rec leagues. But we love the rec leagues. We want the rec leagues. We want our kids, there and active, and things like that. And I think someone touched on like the laughter and, and things like that. Like, we love that. We do love that part. Traffic itself, insane whenever you just alone with the rec leagues. So this is going to just perpetuate that so much. Also, I know for a fact that for 11 and a half years of my life, when no one shuts those tennis court lights off, I walk my bottom out there at 2 in the morning to cut those tennis court lights off. I know this because 11 and a half years ago, I gave birth to my daughter and her window backed up to the tennis court lights. So over and over and over for years, they're there. So I'm the one that turns them off when no one else does. So that's like another thing, is that I know we say, oh, these people are gonna clean up, or they're gonna be responsible, they're gonna do that, they're gonna do that. But we can't even get that adjusted, like the tennis courts, you know what I mean? So then we're gonna move on to something even bigger. So that's a huge worry for me. Also, we have talked about like the speeding and the not stopping at stop signs. I'm a very transparent person. I have been pulled over 3 times in my own neighborhood for not stopping at the stop sign. It happens way too often. It's not okay. So if we cannot even get these traffic violations like under, was that really 3 minutes? If we can't get those fixed, we should not move on to a bigger project before that gets fixed.
Timothy Roberts.
Good evening. My name is Timothy Roberts, and I live at 9 Park Drive, right across from Davis Park. And I encourage you not to move forward with leasing the ball field. I'm curious, like Carolyn said, about how this, came this way. Like, I'm not sure that the Parks and Rec Board was part of the process. The neighbors were not notified. And it definitely was handled the way that you handle things, right? But I think there probably should have been a little bit more caution in it being maybe treated like a zoning matter, because you're talking about a 10-year lease with the option of renewing for additional 10 years, 20 years that you can impact this community. Not enough parking, streets becoming one way. When we moved on Park Drive 20 plus years ago, we saw this phenomenon going on down at the ball field there of Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, football players started showing up there every night.
Not this Friday.
Not then it was.
That's a sin.
I know, right? So, but they start August 1st, from what I understand, and so that could potentially eliminate, something that like is deeply embedded in that community there. The 10-year lease with the option, I have concerns with the length of time on that. So last night I went and just did what it sounds like on Park Drive at 10 o'clock at night. I don't know if you can hear that.
There's nothing to hear.
It's crickets.
Crickets, it is crickets last night. It wasn't cicadas last night. Then I went to North States, Old North States, what they post on their website, what their ball games sound like. And again, like, if I were at a ball game, I'd love listening to Casey in the Sunshine Band. And I got nothing against it. But when I go to sleep at night, which is typically by 10 o'clock, I don't want to hear Casey talking about putting his boogie woogie shoes on. So I encourage you not to move forward with this. Thank you.
Norman Divers.
Good evening, council. I'm not gonna belabor you with all the points that I would point out otherwise. All of you know how I feel about infrastructure here at Belmont. So, I think the neighborhood here has come out and given you their opinions and put it out there to you really plainly. I'm more concerned about the, process in which this whole thing went on. And being a member of the planning and zoning board, I know what we put developments through to try and put their developments in place and how they have to evaluate their impacts on the neighboring communities, the impacts on infrastructure, et cetera. And with this being almost considered like a change in use, making it a commercial use, number one, taking away a tax-paid amenity for the constituents here for a quarter of the year, you're gonna take it away by leasing it to these folks here. On top of that, that change in use and the addition of all these different sales that you're gonna allow there, and the fact that they have carte blanche in use for their time period, opens it up to just about anything, like the folks have said. So you've had a change in use here, but yet you've not asked them anything about traffic impacts. Have they had to do a TIA? No. Have they had to do anything about infrastructure, evaluating sidewalks to help the neighbors walk better in their community? No. It's just been an unbelievable process here, starting off with a closed session by council to talk about the lease. And then all of a sudden, the folks are having to find out about it from Charlie's Facebook page. It's just not right. There should have been public hearings. There should have been meetings between the Belmont baseball folks and the neighbors there. You really need to look at the process, because this was wrong. Thank you.
Michelle Hendricks.
Hi, my name is Michelle Hendricks, and I live at 3 Kingston Street on the corner of Park and Kingston. So I'm right there. And my family and I, we sit outside on our porch every night. If you drive by, you'll probably see us. But my concern is the parking. There are a lot of people that walk their dogs, families walking. Our next door neighbors have 3 little kids that do cheerleading and baseball and stuff like that down at the park. And there's no sidewalks, so they all have to walk in the street. We see several people running the stop sign. I'm constantly saying that one ran it, that one ran it. I mean, we've called the police and, asked them to come and sit and watch and see how many people run our stop sign. So, I mean, I agree with what everybody else said, and I'm just opposed to it. And, mostly for the parking and the late hours. We go to bed at 8 o'clock, so that's it. Thank you for your time.
Sarah Desjardins.
Yes. Yes. Good evening, Mr. Manager, Councilwoman, and Councilmen. My name is Sarah Desjardins, and I live at 8 Kingston Street and have been a resident there for 7 years, which means that in the morning I come out on my front porch and I listen to little kids punch each other at the park, which is perfect. I love that. I love hearing those noises, like what everyone else has spoken about. That whole park, that whole area. I don't even have children, but I love it. I'm a dog trainer. I run and operate my own business out of my home on Kingston Street, and my clients, that's one of my selling points. Everyone loves to come to my home. They love to operate out of my home with me. We do dog training sessions right there. And anyone that already knows me personally knows that I have a huge aversion to traffic concerns. I received an almost fatal accident here in Belmont from a motorist that wasn't paying attention on a sunny, bright Tuesday morning from running a stop sign. And I was out from City of Belmont on FMLA for 4 months, back when I worked here. So that is concerning to me. The number of times that I've already almost been struck by cars at Davis Park is concerning. I'm not wholly opposed to the baseball thing. I'm not a sports person, I call it sports ball. But I have a lot of concerns, okay? Is the city willing, ready, and prepared to redo the infrastructure for the streets there to support the building of sidewalks, traffic studies, traffic control, to support us? Me, as I stated, I'm a dog trainer. That means in summertime, when the collegiate team would be there, guess when I walk dogs? In the evening. That's the only time I could do it unless I get up at 6 in the morning, which I also do. But that being said, my job and my clients' dogs are in danger if I have our streets lined. I've already had to start backing into my driveway because traffic is such a prominent issue there, that it's unsafe for me to back out of my driveway because it's a thoroughfare. So that is something that's already been a concern. I won't keep hashing on that. I know initially that $250,000 worth of park renovations and upkeep sounds like a really sweet deal, and at first it's like, wow, that's cool. But then I'm like, wait, why do we need that? I guess my bigger question is, what are we doing, how's Parks and Rec doing right now with their budget where the park has it fallen into a state of disrepair? If we are having these updates done to the park, does that mean that we have a better budget where we can reallocate that funding to other funds? Then my next concern is, I think I heard mentioned that we're planning another park possibly, and we love parks. We love our parks here. However, if we're having issues maintaining one that we already have, why would we continue to add on? I have a few other concerns, but I see that I'm running out of time. And I guess my closing statement for this would be, I love being part of this community. It means the whole world to me to be here. But I have faith in our city leaders that surely we can find a solution for revitalizing our parks without privatizing them.
Arlene Flowers.
Hi, I'm Arlene Flowers. I live at 307 Farrell Avenue here in Belmont. I have several questions concerning this LO expansion. Most of them's been asked already, but my property is at the back of the ball field, all the way across, so the whole thing impacts me. My biggest concern was the parking. As everybody said, I won't have to go through it. It's horrendous. Even when the Little Leagues play on Saturdays from Harris, Oak, Farrell, it's parking on both sides of the streets. I'd hate to get EMS or fire trucks to try to come down there. Another thing was, I think this will actually hinder the use of the Davis Park area for the families and children. I mean, it's loaded with children. Daycares take their kids there. I think it would just bring down the park itself, especially if they have alcohol sales, if it's approved. I think it would be just terrible for the park area, for the families and children. Another thing was, I know a lot of the kids in the afternoons when the park's not being used for ball games and stuff, there's kids over in the ballpark who practice ball, they practice soccer, different things like that. Would these kids be able to get into the park to use it, the ball field? They don't seem to be tearing it up or anything, but especially on Sundays, a lot of Saturdays right now, since there's no activities going on, there's loads of kids out there playing with their moms or dads, and would the field be available for them? But I think the main thing was, the parking. I think it needs to be addressed further before any decisions are actually made on this. Thank you.
I think that is everyone. If there is someone else who thinks they signed up and didn't,
I think we have one.
yes, please come forward.
I wanted to speak, but I didn't get here in time. I was a few minutes late. I live right there, so.
That's fine.
Whatever.
Okay.
Go ahead, Doc. Come on, Doc.
Doc Martin. I live at 113 North Central Avenue, right on the corner where you go down to Davis Park. That's not my concern. My concern is, I've lived here all my life, and I think most everybody knows that. I've been around that ball field. My kids play there. Now my grandchildren are playing there. What's that gonna do to our children that are playing and they're on teams and stuff? I've heard before, oh, well, we'll let them use it. But what happens is, they don't wind up letting the kids use them when they need to. They'll, no, we've got something scheduled. No, we've got, other things to do. We gotta practice. We gotta do this. So the kids wind up with nothing. All the time since I have been living in this town, they're more concerned about the men than they are the children. And we're gonna be having more children here. We need to spend more time concerned about what we can do for the children. Just like Charlie and them got the soccer fields and stuff like that. We need more stuff like that for children, not for men. It's time for these men to find somewhere else to go.
Well, my summer job when I worked in the recreation department, I scored softball games, and I'd sit there and there were lots of men, they played the 6-10 game, and when I closed up at at 10:30 when the last game ended, the people from the 6 o'clock game would still be out there drinking beer in the parking lot. Yes, I understand that perhaps.
But it is, because I've got grandchildren that plays out there.
Yes.
And we just need to know, there's nothing been said about the schedule for the children. Nothing. Will this interfere with what the children need to do? Or are they gonna pull rank and say, no, we're renting this, you can only do it whenever we say you can? So, I think our children come first.
Yes.
And I know my grandchildren do. So, I'll just have to fight you on that.
You better watch out, Joe.
I know. That being all the public comment, my thought in talking with Parks is, we have no representative from the league here. There's no, there has been no city presentation. I would come out of public hearing and then we move on to the next item, which is the leases themselves, and we deliberate on that in the context of that agenda item. That would be my.
I would like to make a motion to come out of public hearing.
Motion to come out of public hearing. Seconded by Catherine. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, the public hearing is closed. We move to agenda item C3, Belmont Baseball LLC. Consider approval of 2 lease agreements as follows. 1, facility use and lease agreement, and 2, lease agreement and permission to sell alcoholic beverages.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Heffron. Kevin Kraus, the Assistant City Manager, has a small presentation just to go through.
I thought we
didn't have a
presentation.
I thought we didn't have a presentation.
I thought that Kevin had prepared a small presentation. I'm not really sure if that is correct or not, but that's what I.
Do we need to go back in?
We need to go back in.
Do we need to go back in public hearing? Is there a presentation?
No, that's for the moratorium.
Oh. All right. There is not, in fact, a presentation, so we will remain out of public. It seems duplicitous. So, deliberate.
All right.
Yes.
This is no surprise to the council up here. I've voiced this before, but I also want to make this into the public record. I do not support the location of this park, of this collegiate baseball team going into Davis Park. I'm not going to reiterate everything else that was saying. Parking is an issue, traffic is an issue, but I'll go into a little bit more of a personal side of it. My wife's grandparents live off Oak Street, and I can tell you the traffic is absolutely horrendous. He, Papa, Mr. Farmer, will walk the streets, and he has almost been hit multiple times. So what are we going to do when we get this park down here? We get even more traffic where we can't even accommodate the existing parking, as the residents have already said in this area. So again, I don't want to keep going into it. There is a point that was briefly brought up, but I want to make it also known kind of into the record. I do believe something like this should go through the Parks and Rec Board, which is our Citizens Advisory Board, which is why we have these advisory boards to take these types of items under consideration. I did attend a Parks and Rec Board, which at that time, most of the board members were at shock and did not know about this proposal. So again, I want to kind of enter that into the record, that if we do decide to move forward, that at least the Parks and Rec Board can have some type of say into it. I'm not against the idea. You know, I think some folks have kicked down the idea of maybe like one field, moving it to another field. I'd be open to that. But again, as most of the people have said tonight, Davis Park is a very sleepy area. I understand there's a park. I understand when people move there, you know there's a baseball field, but it hasn't been operated at the level of what we're asking it to be by this proposal. And I do believe that's unfair to the existing residents of that area. So again, that's all I have to say to that. I will be voting no for the lease agreement. Thank you.
Any other deliberations, comments, thoughts?
In light of Jason and Mayor Turner not being here, I would like to push the vote out to August. I think that would give us time to talk with the residents, figure out, because clearly, hearing everybody tonight, it seems like the ball was dropped on communication. I'd be very upset as well if I got a flyer on Saturday and found out people were voting on it on Monday. So I understand that is infuriating. So because of that, I would like for us to push it out to August to give us time to reach out to the citizens, go door to door, hear your concerns, and kind of make a better, more educated decision on putting this ball field into that field.
I don't think anything
That's-
you can say is going to change our mind.
Come on. Please, we've had our public hearing. Alex, did you have a response to that?
No, it's there again.
I think, I agree. I think that Davis Park right now is not the option for this entity to enter into. But I do think that there are other areas in town that we can utilize, and the only way that we can do that is by pushing it to August, to figure out what location we can do. It's not necessarily saying, oh, we're pushing it out to August to try to get it in Davis. That's not what he's saying, just for record. It's just to figure out if we can find a different location for this, because we know that you guys do not want it in Davis Park. I'm born and raised in Belmont, and 90% of you know me and know that. And we sit in these chairs to do right by you guys. And, you know, the idea was cool. I did want to touch on communication. I do think the ball was dropped, absolutely. But did they put it in the paper? Yeah. They did put it in the paper. What paper?
Again,
We don't have a paper. What paper? The Gassy Gazette. So when was it?
So we can post.
Can we please, again, the public hearing portion is closed. We've had public comment. Miles, can you answer the councilwoman's question?
Yes, just to go back in time a little bit, this was an item that came up for like economic development purposes. One of the reasons it was not discussed in a public setting. We came out of that meeting, and on May the 23rd was our workshop. Minutes reflect here that we had this discussion in open session. We talked about the lease proposal between Belmont Baseball and the City of Belmont. We kind of went over the points that would be included in both leases, whether it was the facility lease or whether it was the alcoholic beverage for sale piece of that. We had a discussion, and from May the 23rd, Jason Rumpelt made a motion to move forward with the advertisement for the lease agreement. Catherine Lewis seconded the motion. The motion was unanimously approved. Therefore, we went to the next step in the process, which is by general statute, is that if you are going to lease property, you have to advertise that in the paper of general circulation. And that, for us, typically is the Gazette. That's how we advertise for other public hearing items that are coming up. We send that to the Gazette. So that was placed in the Gazette, setting this date for this meeting today. And so, it was advertised, it was inside the minutes, and the minutes reflect that, and that was an open meeting, that was not a closed session item. So I do want to say that, yes, it was advertised appropriately. Now, whether the city did a good job reaching out to the citizens, evidently by some of the comments. Maybe we could have done a better job. We did not put flyers together because we don't typically do that for other public hearings. We don't send notification out like that for any kind of areas. So, we were not the people that actually went out and, advertised by letter or by flyers at all. So that was not what we did.
That was the neighbor. Yeah.
Alex, did you?
Yeah, just to add into the record, I was not at the May 23rd meeting. That was the day before my son was born. So I was not I did just want to kind of make one comment, though, on what is presented to us at hand, which is the lease agreement. And the lease agreement as written has Davis Park as the facility, correct?
That's correct.
My personal thoughts on this is that we should deny the lease agreement tonight, but direct staff to go back to the applicant, or the Old North League, the Collegiate League, and potentially work with the Parks and Rec Board and look for other places within Belmont would be my recommendation.
I agree with that. I think that we should look and consider exploring other options, but as Alex has said, the current lease, what we're asking about tonight is, it has Davis Park in there, and those are what the provisions say, and so I would not be in favor of, voting in favor of this as long as it says Davis Park in there, and so I think we can go back to the drawing board, but I don't want that lease, there's no reason, in my opinion, to put off until later what can be done, what I feel I can do today. To me, it's relatively simple and straightforward. I mean, there's nothing nefarious going on here. This was, brought to us. This was a proposal. We found it interesting. From my own perspective, I thought it would be an interesting idea, a way to galvanize the community, to bring the community together. But, we noticed a public hearing. According to state statute, the public has come to the public hearing. The public has said they are not interested in a baseball team at this location. And to me, all right, that's, I thought it was a good idea. That's why we have public hearings. The public has said, maybe it's not such a good idea as you thought it was. And I listen to that. I hear that. And, we don't need a baseball team here. It was an interesting idea. If the neighborhood is opposed to it, then I'm fine saying no, because I don't see a need, at the end of the day, do we need it? No. Would it be nice to have? Maybe at another location. But I just think, I'll vote no, and I think we should have the vote, and then I think we should indicate to the Old North State League that, there's an issue with this specific facility. There are a lot of concerns expressed. We still like the idea, but we would be open to exploring other venues and locations within the city. But, at this point, no, I'm a no on this.
Let me play devil's advocate for a second. So, what's going to happen if we vote no? They're not going to bring baseball here. They're going to take it somewhere else. They're going to bring it somewhere else in Gaston County, and Belmont will have lost this opportunity.
We don't need
No other field in Belmont can sustain this type of baseball. Rodden Field is a softball field. Dwight Brady Field is a softball field. You got Little League fields at Reed, and this is the only field that can kind of house this.
Then it shouldn't be here.
Neither one of the schools.
So, if we say no to this, I understand the concerns. I heard them all. I fully understand. But I want the public to understand that if we say no to this, they're going to go somewhere else. We're going to miss this opportunity.
All right, I understand the point. I also recollect from some of our discussions, though, that they have built fields from the ground up. They did not did the Old North, So I think there's more options than just saying, based on what the current state of a specific facility might be. That doesn't necessarily, I mean, they're gonna spend $250,000 on Davis Park. You know, what's to say they wouldn't spend $250,000 at a more suitable location as well?
Which is why before we say no, I was wanting to push it so we could get more information from more state leads, better understand what we're looking for.
And I'm happy to do that, but the you know, what is presented here, you know, if there's not interest in that location, I don't think that we should continue with this specific lease proposal. I mean, let me ask Parks, hi. What, I mean, do you understand what we're saying? Like, I think both Alex and myself are interested in, you know, continuing the dialogue, but not necessarily having this specific proposal remain on the table.
I totally understand that. I think that's totally appropriate if that's your council decision, and you might want to go ahead and have a motion so that you could proceed.
Well, Alex?
Well, is it everyone's?
Yeah, as long as, but my question is, with this North State, what we're trying to do now, I'm making sure I understand fully. We're saying no to this proposal, and then we're gonna take it back to them and say, you know, Davis Park is not what we want. We've heard from the residents, it's not an option, it's off the table. This is what we wanna do pushing forward. Here's our options, this is what the city owns, this is where we were thinking would be good ideas. We still have that option to do that after this, correct?
Correct.
Possibly.
Well, I mean, as a practical matter, yes. Whether what that leads to, I mean, yeah, we don't know.
We're just saying no to Davis Park.
Right.
We're just saying no.
Correct.
And then we're gonna move
And
forward.
I'd rather say that and then leave it hanging.
Yeah. And I'd like to entertain a motion to deny the lease agreement with Belmont Baseball LLC.
Would that be both agreements?
Yes, both 1 and 2 for the facility and the lease agreement permission to sell alcohol beverages. For Davis Park, yes.
Okay. Motion has been made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Catherine seconds. All those in favor? All those opposed? It passes 3-1, so the denial passes 3-1. It's rejected. But the direction of council is that that city staff go back to the old North State League and indicate that we are still, you know, open to the proposal, but exploring it at other locations within the city. All right, why don't we, I have a feeling, as much as some of you might want to hear about state budget requests and moratoria, I have a feeling that some people might want to leave, so I entertain a motion to take a temporary 5-10-minute recess.
Motion for a 5-minute recess.
Second, all those in favor? All right, we stand in recess.
My name is Gail. I'm a
We will call the meeting back to session or recess, and I look out and I see far fewer folks in the seats for our next agenda item, which is C4 State Budget Request Update. And so here we have our lobbyist, Mike Hager, and sorry you have a much smaller audience, Mike, although you bring us news that's probably just as, if not more, important. But let us hear from you and what you have to say, unless you have any preparatory comments, Miles.
No, sir.
No, all right.
I'm gonna go by Dave's Park just to see it now. The conversation, it sounds beautiful. Thank you guys for the democracy. I really appreciate that conversation, what y'all went through. It's tough, but I mean, I appreciate what y'all do. As you guys know, the state has a biennial budget. So every odd year, and I apologize if I'm going over some of you already know this, every odd year the state develops a budget. 2023 developed a 2-year budget. And what they do in and that's a long session. What they do in 2024 on the even number of years is a short session. Short session is supposed to be April, May, June. Never is, but it's supposed to be. So and this has been one of the most inefficient sessions on record. There's very few bills that made it to the governor because of the issues between the House and the Senate. A lot of it has to do with, believe it or not, medical marijuana, and the rules chairman in the Senate wants his medical marijuana bill passed. So therefore, he's not willing to push a lot of House bills. So we are where we are. Right now, we do have an adjournment resolution. That doesn't mean a whole lot because the short session now, per the adjournment resolution, the short session is going to go all the way to December. We're not sure how much longer a short session can be, but it seems like it's pretty long. I gave Miles a copy of the adjournment resolution. Let me go over that real quick. They will go back in on July 10th, July 19th, 29th through August 1st, September 9th through 11th, October 9th, November 19th through 22nd, which will be the budget session, and December 11th through the 13th. Miles, I'll leave you with these notes in case anybody has any questions. So basically why they do that is they can't go in recess for so long. They do, if they're out for long enough, for a month or so, the governor gives appointment powers that they don't want them to have right now. So you'll see them in and out of session until November, which is after the election. They'll come back and handle some of these tougher problems that they have in there, like medical marijuana, like horse racing, like video lottery terminals and those things. So you'll see them have a session. That'll be their main session for 3 or 4 days in November. But where we are so far, as you guys know, the ones that came to Raleigh with me, we spoke with Representative Loftus. You guys remember that? He outlined the process of what a new process we're going through this year, which is each senator and each House member gets to put in 5 projects that can't total any more than $3 million. So our representative, of course, is Representative Loftus, who we talked to a lot that day. The projects they put in and the funding for those are not guaranteed. They go into a bigger bucket and then they're chosen from there. But what the Gaston County delegation did, I'm very proud of those guys. I know them all for a long time, which is Representative Torbett, Representative Loftus, Senator Overcash, and Senator Alexander has a little bit up in the charitable area. They decided to get together and pare down their asks to ones that made sense to everybody. They weren't asking anything they didn't think they'd get. So they have a real nice list of infrastructural projects for Gaston County. Now, I will say that Representative Loftus showed me the sheet that he got in the budget, or he's getting in the budget on their list. And I know at least 2 of the projects we talked about that day, Representative Loftus, are on that list. I think 3 he didn't show it to me, but for a second, so I picked up 2 of them. The first one is one of our first priorities was the SCADA system. So Representative Loftus said of his $3 million, he's recommending $1.6 million of that to be the SCADA system. The other one I saw on the list was the structural storage facility for the police at $150,000. Again, there's one more on there. I'm not privy to that right now. I'm trying to find that out. So you say, in addition, we've asked Speaker Moore through Councilman Lewis's relationship if he would give us some money for the Morgan Branch project within his, what we call his rock walking around money. And so he's agreed to do it like that.
I love that.
Yeah. You know where that term comes from? Boss tweet.
Yeah.
That's where the term comes from. That's a whole lot of story, guys. I'm geeking out. I apologize. We've asked him for some. He's got about $200 or $300 million of walking around money. We need some of that for the Morgan Branch project.
or all of it?
Or all of it, and she's helped facilitate that. Once I went to talk to him here, I knew what I was bringing up through Councilman Lewis's help, thank goodness. So that's where we are right now. We're waiting on Moore to get back with me on the Morgan Street project.
Quick question on
yes,
that,
go ahead.
before we continue. So is that a discretionary fund for him, or does that go through some type of appropriations committee?
That's a discretionary fund for him.
Okay.
The speaker gets a certain amount of money, the pro tem gets a certain amount of money.
Okay.
And they can spend it on anything they want.
Okay.
And we will name it after him.
Yes, we'll put his
Flag,
picture up, I think, Councilman.
Whatever we need to do,
Yeah.
we're here for
At the
it.
sewage,
Yeah, he doesn't even know where it's going, he just knows.
He would love that. He would
He
love
likes his
that.
name on things. I'll just say that. So we've got those three projects in the budget through Representative Loftus, and we're working on the Morgan Street, Morgan Branch project through the walking around money, the discretionary money, from Speaker Moore. So that's where we are right now. That they won't discuss these issues again until November. So that's until November. November, the session on the 19th through the 22nd, which is in the adjournment resolution. That's when they'll start picking these up. Now, what we'll see there, they'll print a budget. It won't have any other projects in it other than the main budget. And then they'll start filling in these projects after the main budget starts getting voted on, starts coming through. So if you see a budget in November and it doesn't have a lot of any of our stuff or any infrastructure issues at all, that's why, because they don't put those in there till the last. So that's the process. It's a little screwed up this year. Usually, short session gets out in July, August, but because of the controversial projects that leadership in the Senate predominantly wants, nothing's really moving right now. And so right now, the House put out their budget, the Senate threw it in the trash can, and the Senate put out their little budget, which was just a small 40-page budget. The House threw theirs in the trash can. So it's kind of where we are. It's kind of a standoff right now, waiting on something to break. Any questions, guys? That's pretty much. I don't want to keep you guys any longer than you need
Thank
to.
you so much for what you're doing.
Well,
We appreciate you very much.
Well, I will tell you, Miles is he's my I don't say hero. That's much because he's doing the work with us and working with me and the General Assembly and works with you guys. And this is such a great town. As you guys know, my daughter lives here. She was born here, so born and raised here. So she's one of the few natives left, I think. You are, for sure. So she has a lot of passion about this town. So therefore, I have a lot of passion about this town. So thank you guys for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
guys. Y'all have a good night.
You too.
And thank you,
Drive safe
Miles.
home.
And staff.
Heroes maybe a bigger word.
Anytime.
Great, thank you. Moving right along, agenda item C5, information regarding development moratoriums, or perhaps it should be moratoria. But in any event, who's going to be handling this one? The much anticipated presentation. Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't see anything about baseball.
Buckle up here. All right, so going into development moratorium. So General Statutes 160D-107 gives cities the authority to impose moratorium for certain reasons. The authority is available, but it's very limited on how we can use it. A lot of times we have heard, you just can't do it, just can't do it. But you can under certain situations. So moratorium, what is it? It's a temporary suspension, and temporary is a key word there, of an activity or law until future consideration warrants lifting that suspension. The moratorium isn't a solution to the problem. It's just a pause button while you figure out the answers and implement those. I believe Mooresville recently explored this for themselves because they're facing the same pressures, but they didn't have a reason like we do that we're getting ready to go into. Their reason was traffic. Well, if you look at the general statutes, traffic isn't a reason. It's not an allowable use. But for us, we do. So why consider a moratorium? The sewer capacity study that was presented recently identified needs. And local governments in that second bullet point can impose a temporary moratorium when necessary to respond to problems such as a lack of treatment capacity. We have the classic scenario for why you could have one. And then that next bullet point just is a court case that shows that Jacksonville, North Carolina, they successfully defended a moratorium that they had imposed based on a lack of capacity at their wastewater plant. So the permitted development that's exempt from moratorium. So if something were put into place, these are the things that it would not apply to, which are basically things that are already in the cycle. You've already got a building permit, you've already been given a special use permit, you have vested rights, Tiffany can explain that, it's complicated, and subdivision plats under review. And that's preliminary or final subdivision plats that have been accepted for review prior to the hearing. So what must be included in the moratorium if you would choose to go down that path? You have to identify and answer these 4 bullet points, which is a problem statement, and talk about the solutions that you have considered, the other alternatives, and address how this moratorium will fix this problem that we have. We need to have a date that's established and why it's reasonable. And 2 years is even in the literature that you have. That was an example for something in our situation. So 2 years has been defended before, so it can be as long as that. And a statement of actions that are going to be taken during the moratorium. So for us, some of those statements of actions would be hiring the engineer to do design, and then of course the construction of the project. So what's the process that we would follow? The standard notice requirements are required that are in 160D 601, which is publishing the notice twice. So it's similar to zoning public hearings. Then you would hold a public hearing, just as you did tonight for the baseball thing. And then you adopt, you'd probably have a better reception for this one. Adopt ordinances that address all the requirements in the 160D 107, which was these things. So we're addressing those in the ordinance. And that's all. So that's all we have for tonight, is to give you this information and turn it back over to Mayor Pro Tem. We're here to answer any questions you have and looking for direction on how to move forward.
Anybody have any questions for Kevin?
I do.
Yes.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, staff, for looking into this. I know that we had all talked about this, probably a lot of information you guys have had to go through to figure out what is necessary to move forward. Just a quick question. So this is information only. So you outlined the steps. I appreciate that. Posted twice, public hearing. How quick, because in my opinion, I don't know about the rest of the council, but I'd like to get this done ASAP.
Yeah.
So how fast, when do you think we can get this on an agenda, I guess is the question I'm looking for, so that we can vote on it?
Do a minute to address that. It can be done before we go through because we have 2 ways to go about it. Whether going ahead now with a moratorium, or we have enough because of that study. I believe that you could use that as a justification. Or, of course, there's waiting until we have a more defined time of how long this will take. But according to the statutes, it comes down to us presenting you the ordinance for your review. So we just need to develop that ordinance, and then you need a 2 weeks lead time on advertising. So it's theoretically, it could possibly be August that this could happen. September, it gives more time if attorneys need more time to review this, because you really need to nail it down. You know, as far as the dates, the reasonings, and the type of
How long this
scope.
process
Well, I would say the
Scope.
scope too, in terms of like what area of the city is going to be included within the moratorium. Because, you know, if we're saying we're imposing the moratorium because of the capacity of the Morgan's Branch pump station, it would need to be the area that feeds into that.
Agreed.
So, and that's sort of a weird, like, we'd have to define it, because it's not necessarily just, because like Belmead and Greystone aren't serviced by that, even though they're like right. So it'll be a little bit a task.
Yeah, we might have to go back and look at our withers right now study, I would think, to determine like where that actual, force main dumps into, the line that I think is at Oral Stowe Road. So exactly where that's located and everything south of there. So that's more of like an engineering kind of thing for us, is to say like, where is the area? Then we have to define the areas that are kind of outside and potentially could be tapped into it as well. So if you think about like, a neighborhood that could be developed, but they could send their sewer a different way, to get to the plant, then we could not consider that. But anybody else that would potentially tie in, to the line, we would have to consider that neighborhood or that particular area. And so that could take a little bit of time. And then we also talked about, the time frame for like hiring an engineer and then having this, other engineer do the study themselves, look over the Withers Ravenel study, and then, design the improvement, whether that's, if they can do something other than put a force main down South Point Road or upsize the lift station. That's really up for an engineer to tell us what we really need to do, but that's what we're thinking we probably need to do. That could take us several months to get to that point, and then we would rely on that design engineer to tell us how long it would take for a contractor to get under contract, bid it out, get under contract, procure materials. So that, we're thinking probably be a 2-year period. I think that we could probably say that it could be that long, but then if we, complete the sewer upgrades sooner, then we could come out of the moratorium. If it takes longer, we have to come back to you all and say, hey, we're not completing the project yet, we need it to be extended past this year.
Which you can do,
So
which we have.
that was gonna be one of my questions, to make sure we could extend it out. If we say 2 years,
Can you add to the affected area? Because the reason why I'm asking is because this all came about from a water sewer study that we did, and that we're about to do elsewhere in Belmont. So, I mean, if we get the same results back, that it's, not great.
Yeah.
Do you add to that one?
I would imagine it would be a separate moratorium, because that might be in connection with whatever pump station or area that study might identify needs to be improved, so it would need to be tied into that. I mean, you can have more than one at once, depending on, that's my message.
So we could go ahead and get this ball rolling, because what I'm hearing is we can extend it as needed, and that being said.
I mean, you can't just, you have to have reasons to extend
Right,
it.
if
We
we're not
have
finished,
reasons, because we
correct.
say,
Sure.
it's going to be as long as it takes to complete the upgrades. The upgrades are taking longer, but by then we probably have a better idea of how long they'd actually be, if necessary.
yeah. And I'll leave this up to y'all, but as long as it's not like moving heavens and mountains and all that stuff, will you get on the August agenda?
I don't think you can do August.
You don't have, okay. No, I
really think September's more realistic.
okay, and I appreciate that. If it's September, then, because we gotta do it right. We don't wanna just.
Because you gotta advertise, and, there's some heavy lifting in meeting the statutory requirements. You have to, word about, make it clear why you're doing it, what alternatives you've explored otherwise that you didn't do it. It's more than just a little, like a rubber stamp one.
No, I can appreciate that.
I think then, since this is informational only, I think the direction is to proceed with alacrity, to proceed as quickly as possible, expeditiously, along the lines that we've discussed, but, when it's ready, it's ready, with all due speed.
Yeah.
But we understand, the realities, and we know we gotta get it right, too.
And having said that, if we meet with staff and determine otherwise, it can be presented earlier, maybe even at an August workshop, but, I really think realistically, your September meeting might be the most.
I think that's fair. I mean, as long as we can do it right, and then get it done.
And thank you for finding all this information out.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm glad our why is I hate that it is what our why is, but it's very good.
Kevin did a
why
good job.
to get it done. Yeah. you did.
Thank you, Kevin.
So is that,
Thanks, Kevin.
is staff clear on what the direction is?
Yes, sir.
Is that fair, Ron?
All right, excellent. Well, that takes care of C5, and we're into reports. We actually have some reports this meeting.
Do you want me to go over the report?
Well, typically, I don't know if we've had any reports since you've been here, so typically, it's like, you say, well, we have the minutes from the Downtown Belmont Development Association and Main Street Advisory Board meetings, and those minutes are presented for your information only. And
That's perfect.
Yes, sir.
Done.
Good job.
Miles,
Yes.
Miles,
Yes.
did you want to, you said when we brought this up again, did you want to tell them why there's staff concern about attaching some of the minutes that we've discussed?
I believe that, if I'm following you on this one, is that at times there, are like draft minutes, and so we don't want to put like the draft minutes up for, inside of a council packet when they're still like draft, considering that it may go back to the actual board, they may make changes, and then it comes back at that point with changes to it, so we're trying to determine like the best method to move forward with putting minutes inside of council meeting agendas and it being timely, just because of the frequency of the actual board meeting minutes and when those are approved the next time. So it could be a very extended period of time that you might get a set of a meeting minutes that have been approved. It might be like months in the past of that.
well, that's the situation. I don't need to see months old minutes. I like to try and stay up to date, but if it's like 3 months past, that's not very informative.
And that was, I think we've heard some comments about that process, like how do we put like draft minutes on something that's not really been approved yet, so so I appreciate you.
That's respectful.
Yeah. All right, great. With that being said, we move to other business. Let's start with Kathy.
I just want to give my condolences to the Robinson family. My prayers are with them. I couldn't imagine what they're going through right now, so I will be praying for their family. And then, of course, we need to continue to pray for Mayor Turner and his family for healing, because we need to get him back sooner than later. And safe travels for Jason, of course.
Yes.
From Madrid.
Yes. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, Charlie.
So first, let me thank all the public commenters that came up and gave their opinions on the baseball. Like we said, democracy at work, right? Like that was pretty great to see. Also, to echo Catherine, hearts go out to the Robinson family. That's so tragic. Absolutely outstanding human being. I hate that we got that kind of news. That's so terrible. And also on another somber note, this is the 12th anniversary of the MAV 7 crash. And for those of you who are not familiar with MAV 7, that is a mission that we had in the Air National Guard here in Charlotte. 12 years ago, our plane went down and tragically took the lives of 4 fantastic aviators in the front end and forever altered the lives of 2 of the load masters in the back. One of those pilots, Major Joseph McCormick, lived in Belmont here with me, and it's one of the worst days that we've had at the Air National Guard over in Charlotte. And being that it's the 12th anniversary, I would like to maybe next year make July 1st a Memorial Day for MAV 7 here in Belmont, since we had a actual pilot that was affected here in Belmont with that.
That would be amazing. That's awesome, Charlie.
That's all I got from my other business.
Thank you, Alex.
Yep, just a few things. Like everyone else said, continue prayers for Alec Robinson and his family. It is very tragic, and of course, continue prayers for our mayor, hoping for a speedy and fast recovery. I think Jim can also agree that he's ready for the mayor to do that. Just a few things here. I would like to just kind of take a minute and thank Cassidy for stepping up as Phil has departed. I've attended some of the board meetings and have talked to some of the board members, and everything has continued seamlessly, just moving forward. So again, extending my thanks there. I brought this up in an email. Again, I just kind of, for the public record, I know we're moving forward to it, but maybe at a future agenda or something, trying to talk a little bit more about the update on the rec center sponsorship this is something that I keep beating on. I'm ready to get that package out there. I think we do have corporations out there that are ready to sponsor whatever level that we want to put out there. Talking about fiscal years, a lot of corporations during this time, and I see this with the Historic Belmont Foundation, this is the time that we should be asking for sponsorship funds. And if it's not this year, let's look at this time next year as well. But I would like to get that moving as quick as we can. The only other thing I have, this has been brought up a few times, and Chief, don't kill me on this one, and Catherine, I saw your email too, but the Oak Street, I think at one point in time, we had talked about if council wants a speed bump or stop sign or something, we could just, and correct me if I'm wrong, Madams, we could potentially just bring it forward and make it happen based off of a vote. Is that accurate? Is that fair? Sometime maybe on the next agenda, we'd like to put something on the consent agenda by putting a speed bump on Oak Street. I know you all have seen the email. I've seen it firsthand. I appreciate the study that has gone into place there, but it is very dangerous. And I think if we can try to alleviate that and at least give a gesture to the folks over there. I know you don't want to set precedent where we'll just put speed bumps everywhere, but this is a street that has just continuously been brought up. So again, I just would like to suggest that if the rest of the council would find that suitable. And then other than that, that's all I have.
All right, thanks. Just a couple of things. I'll condolences to the Robinson family. Alec was one of the first employees I dealt with when I started getting involved in city matters, and I was on the planning board, and he had a depth of historical knowledge about all things Belmont, whether planning, whether elections, whether you name it, he could rattle off some facts. So he'll definitely be missed. I appreciate Charlie's comments too, as someone who just lost a friend in an airplane crash. I know it can be it's a hard thing, and it might be appropriate to have such a memorial, but I definitely appreciate that because it hits close to home these days. The only, I want to thank planning department staff has been extremely busy over the last couple weeks with the comprehensive land use plan update. There were many meetings last week in particular. There were some small area focus group meetings. There was a closing presentation. There was sort of a summary of all the feedback, and I don't know if you all noticed, but they did have lots of comments and feedback and lots of stickers. I know we all love our stickers, but that was very time consuming because I thought it was time consuming just attending a couple of the sessions, let alone posting all of them, sometimes two times a day. So we definitely appreciate all the work and I think if you haven't had a chance to meet with the consultants, I know Charlie did. I have. I know there were a lot of people on vacation that might not have been able to, but for those that haven't, I think opportunities can be arranged to do that. And I know, having been subjected to the questioning for an hour and a half at one meeting because I was here, they are very anxious to hear from others as well on council. I do also believe I think it was buried in a weekly update email, but there is a desire, if we have that desire, to take a tour of the city and the different neighborhoods. Would that be with the consultants?
Yes.
And so, if you are interested in that, whether it be on a weekend or a weekday, please, are there dates to vote on? Or
There are. There's a poll. I'll send it back.
Can you just, why don't you just send it as a standalone email?
I will.
And because I think, that might, I've done that before a long time ago, and I thought that was a useful exercise.
Just to narrow down, and Jason's not going to mention, but for the majority here, would Saturday work?
Yeah, Saturday would work best.
Would Saturday work? Jim, would Saturday work? So maybe we just zone it down to just a Saturday and just figure out what days, what Saturday.
Sure. And then speaking of dates, I just want to shore up our July workshop. I know we had an issue with a quorum for the 15th, and we circulated the 22nd as a potential alternate date. It sounded like everyone was fine with that except potentially Jason, but we have subsequently learned that Jason can make himself available that day. So if everyone is fine with the 22nd of July, is there any opposition to moving the workshop from the 15th to the 22nd?
Yeah, that works.
Is that good, Miles?
That's good, thanks.
All right. Well, that's all I have. So at this time, we do have one additional item. We have a closed session. Catherine, would you like to make a motion to go into closed session?
Yes, I will make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to NCGS section 143-318-11A3 to consult with city attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege in the case of ASF TAP NC2 LLC versus City of Belmont.
Second.
All right, motion by Catherine, seconded by Alex. All those in favor? Aye. We're now in closed session. So